Namaskar, good evening viewers. You're watching the news. I'm Bhawna Nayar. This is one bulletin where we provide you all the big developments of the day that made headlines from national and international arena. These are the headlines at 9. Delhi's NIA court finds YASIN Malik guilty in terror funding case, sentences him to life imprisonment. Security forces put on alert in Jammu and Kashmir. Election Commission prepares for action against 2,100 political parties over various irregularities, including flouting norms on election expenditure. Government move to provide relief from inflation, restricts exports of sugar to 10 million tons in current year, duty-free import of 20 lakh metric tons of crude soybean and sunflower oil per year. Strong winds likely on North Gujarat coast, Weather Department issues alert. Fishermen advised not to venture into the sea from 27th to 29th May. Flood situation improves in Assam. Indiscriminate shooting by teenager at school in Texas, 21 including many children killed in firing. US President Biden expresses grief over attack. Let's now take a quick look at some more important stories of the day. Prime Minister Modi to lay foundation stone of 11 projects worth Rs 31,500 crore in Chennai on Thursday. Prime Minister Modi to address PG program of 2022 at Indian School of Business in Hyderabad on Thursday. President Ramnath Kovind to inaugurate first ever two-day National Conference of Women Legislators in Thiruvananthapuram. Speaker of Lok Sabha Om Birla interacts with young entrepreneurs on day-long visit to Jaipur. Security forces bust terror module in Avantipura, Jammu and Kashmir. 8 terrorists arrested. SENSEX and the NIFTY fall over 0.5% amid mixed global cues. SENSEX closes below 53,750 points. 12 civilians killed and 6 injured in 2 separate attacks by Islamic State militants in Iraq. At least 14 killed in under-construction building collapse in Abadan in southwest Iran. Monkeypox cases found in 20 countries, over 100 cases confirmed. Latest case in Italy. Grandmaster R. Pragnananda become first Indian to reach finals at Meltwater Champions Tournament. And now news in detail. Delhi's NIA court on Wednesday sentenced Kashmiri separatist leader YASIN Malik to life imprisonment in a terror funding case. The special court awarded different sentences for different offences under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act and the Indian Penal Code. YASIN Malik was sentenced to life imprisonment for the offence of waging war against the government of India and raising funds for a terrorist. He was sentenced to 2 life imprisonment and 5 sentences of 10 years each. All the sentences will run concurrently. The court also imposed a fine of over Rs 10 lakh on YASIN Malik. The Election Commission has launched a clean-up drive against over 2,100 registered unrecognized parties for flouting rules. These acts include failure to furnish a contribution report and communicate any change in its name, head office, office bearers, and address to the poll panel. The Election Commission said that it will initiate graded action against such parties. The poll panel stated that 66 such parties claimed IT exemption in financial year 20 without complying with statutory requirements under the Representation of the People Act, and 2,174 have not submitted contribution reports. The Election Commission said in a statement that action has been initiated against 3 registered, unrecognized political parties reported to be involved in serious financial impropriety, while 87 non-existent registered, unrecognized political parties shall be deleted from the list and benefits under the Symbols Order 1968 will be withdrawn. Moving on, in order to bring down inflation in edible oils, the government has allowed duty-free import of 20 lakh metric tons of crude soybean oil and crude sunflower oil every year till 2024. According to a Finance Ministry notification, Customs Duty and Agriculture Infrastructure Development cess on the import of crude soybean oil and crude sunflower oil has been scrapped for this year and the next fiscal year. This would mean till March 31st to 2024, 80 lakh metric tons of crude soybean oil and crude sunflower oil could be imported duty-free. The exemption will help cool domestic prices and control inflation. Just last week, the government had cut excise duty on petrol and diesel and also waived import duty on some raw material used in steel and plastic industry. In yet another measure to cool inflation, the government has capped the sugar exports at 10 million tons in the current marketing year ending September. A DGFT notification said that sugar exports from 1st of June till 31st of October this year will only be allowed with specific permission of the Directorate of Sugar. The decision will ensure that closing stocks at the end of September 2022 remain at 6 to 6.5 million tons. India has been the highest producer and the second largest exporter of the sugar in the world in the current year. In the ongoing marketing year, export contracts for about 9 million tons have been signed. About 8.2 million tons of sugar have been dispatched from sugar mills, and for export, and approximately 7.8 million tons have been exported. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla felicitated Corona warriors in Jaipur on Wednesday. Addressing the event organized by Rajesh Kalani Foundation, Om Birla said the coronavirus pandemic impacted every nation, but it also showed the world the capabilities of India in fighting the pandemic. He added that the world is commending the way India stepped up to save lives during the pandemic.
किस तरीके से हमारी बहनों ने दूर दराज के गांवों के अंदर, जहां एक आशा सहयोगनी, एक स्वास्थ्य कार्यकर्ता, एक महिला कार्यकर्ता का रेडियस 5 किलोमीटर हुआ करता था, 4 से 5 हजार आबादी के अंदर उस कोरोना के समय उस समय काम करता था, अपने पति को लेकर, अपने बेटे को साथ लेकर, साधन नहीं थे तो भी वो उस दूर दराज के गांव में जाकर लोगों की उन्होंने जान बचाने का काम किया। आज उनका सम्मानित दुनिया ने किया।
Moving on, in Maharashtra, 37 pilots, including a woman pilot, Abhilasha Barak, were inducted as fighter helicopter pilots. Captain Barak is the first woman fighter helicopter pilot. She secured first position in pre-army pilot course at a ceremony held at Gandhinagar Airfield in Nashik. Rain and snowfall over the last 2 days brought down temperature to 15 degrees Celsius in Himachal Pradesh. Shimla's temperature was 15 degrees Celsius, while Kinnaur had 7 degrees and Lahaul Spiti 0 degrees centigrade. Apart from tourists, local people also came out of their homes wearing woolen clothes. The flood situation is steadily improving in Assam. Over 5,80,000 people are still affected in 17 districts. Kachar, Darang, Dima Hasao are still the worst hit by the floods. Kokili River is flowing above the danger mark. Deaths due to flood incidents have gone up to 26. People in Guwahati are facing waterlogging problems in many places. Strong winds are expected to hit North Gujarat coast. The Meteorological Department has advised fishermen not to venture into the Arabian Sea for 3 days from Friday. Strong 60 km/h winds are likely from May 27 to 29. Fishermen are advised not to venture into the sea. Alerts have been issued to fishermen along the Arabian Sea coast in Kutch, Jamnagar, Porbandar and Dwarka districts. The IMD has forecast light rain and thunder showers at isolated places in South Gujarat. And all the news from across the nation now. 3 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists were killed in an encounter in Baramulla district of Jammu and Kashmir. In a separate encounter, a policeman was martyred in Najibabad in North Kashmir, Kriti area. So far this year, 22 Pakistani terrorists have been killed in various encounters. Kapil Sibal filed his nomination for the Rajya Sabha as an independent candidate with the support of the Samajwadi Party. Akhilesh Yadav, along with party's Chief General Secretary Ram Gopal Yadav and many senior leaders were present with him. Another candidate from Samajwadi Party, Javed Ali Khan, also filed his nomination. 4 ruling YSR Congress candidates in Andhra Pradesh filed their nomination papers for the Rajya Sabha. Sitting MP V. Vijay Sai Reddy filed his nomination for a second term in the upper house. Others who filed their nominations included S. Niranjan Reddy, former Telugu Desam Party MLAs Bidaram Ravichandra and K. Krishnaniya. The Enforcement Director registered a money laundering case against Congress MP Karti Chidambaram and others in an alleged money for visa scam involving 263 Chinese nationals in 2011. The case pertains to allegations of bribery of Rs 50 lakh paid to Karti and his close aide S. Bhaskaraman by a top official of Vedanta Group company TSPL. The third joint exercise of the Navy and the Bangladesh Navy started at the Bangladeshi port Mangla Bongo Sagar. The sea phase maneuvers will take place in the North Bay of Bengal. The aim of the exercise is to develop interoperability and action skills between the two navies. Time for a short break here. On the other side, annual gun production has gone up 187% in the last 2 decades in United States. All this after this short break. You stay tuned to Sansad TV.
We are discussing the Income Tax Act 1961.
Income tax law is the most progressive taxation law in India. It taxes the rich and helps in transferring payment to the poor.
टैक्स एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो हर टैक्स पेयर चाहता है उसकी लायबिलिटी कम हो जाए और टैक्स एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन चाहता है कि टैक्स का बेस वाइडन हो जाए और इसके लिए ज़रूरी है कि दोनों पक्ष मिलकर अपना अपना काम करें और टैक्स की जमा कराएं।
Watch with us 75 years laws that shaped India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching the news. Time now for all the main developments from the Russia-Ukraine war that has completed 90 days. Russian lawmakers passed a bill that removes age limits for professional soldiers joining the military and could be a way for the Russian armed forces to expand recruitment. The lower house of the Russian parliament passed the bill in all 3 readings on Wednesday to scrap an age limit of 40 for Russians signing their first voluntary military contracts. The bill indicated older recruits could be suited to operating precision weapons or serving in engineering or medical roles. Ukrainian President Zelensky says his country will not give up land in return for an end to the war with Russia following its invasion. Speaking by video link on Wednesday during the World Economic Forum's gathering in Davos, Zelensky said he didn't believe Russian President Vladimir Putin fully understood what was going on in Ukraine. Responding to a question about whether it was possible to negotiate an end to the conflict, Zelensky said through a translator, "Ukraine is not going to concede our territory. We are fighting in our country, on our land." The Russian military claimed it has destroyed the production facilities of a key Ukrainian maker of aircraft engines. The Russian Defense Ministry said on Wednesday that the military has used long-range air and sea-launched missiles to destroy the Motor Sich plant in Zaporizhzhia. Motor Sich has been a key maker of aircraft engines since Soviet times. It has specialized in helicopter engines. The 11-country Council of the Baltic Sea states said on Wednesday that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is entirely incompatible with the cooperative model of international relations in the Baltic Sea region and has a long-term negative impact on regional security. The CBSS includes the nations around the Baltic Sea plus Ireland, Norway and the European Union. It suspended Russia last March. The Russian military says the key Ukrainian port of Mariupol is functioning again after 3 months of fighting. The Russian Defense Ministry said the military has finished clearing the port of mines and it is now fully operational. The Russian forces took control of Mariupol, the strategic port on the Sea of Azov, after the last Ukrainian defenders at the giant Azovstal seaside steel plant laid down their weapons. British military authorities say Ukraine's overland export routes are unlikely to offset the problems caused by Russia's blockade of the Black Sea port of Odessa, and that will put further pressure on global grain prices. The UK Ministry of Defence, in an update posted on Wednesday morning, says that there has been no significant merchant shipping in or out of Odessa since the start of the Russian invasion. Time now for some other global updates. A teenage gunman killed at least 18 children and 3 adults after storming into a Texas elementary school on Tuesday. It was the latest bout of gun-fueled mass murder in the United States and the nation's worst school shooting in nearly a decade. Several people, including children, were injured. Some are in a critical condition. Take a look at this report.
An 18-year-old gunman opened fire on Tuesday at a Texas elementary school, killing 18 children, 3 adults and injuring others. The gunman was among the dead. It was the deadliest shooting at a U.S. grade school since the shocking attack at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut, almost a decade ago. The gunman entered Robb Elementary School in Texas with a handgun and possibly a rifle. Officials have not revealed a motive behind the shooting. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said the gunman was a resident of the community about 135 kilometers west of San Antonio.
The shooter was Salvador Romas, an 18-year-old male who resided in Uvalde. It's believed that he abandoned his vehicle and entered into the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde with a handgun, and he may have also had a rifle, but that is not yet confirmed according to my most recent report. He shot and killed horrifically, incomprehensibly.
It was the deadliest school shooting in Texas history. It occurred 4 years after a gunman fatally shot 10 people at Santa Fe High School in the Houston area, and less than 2 weeks after a gunman opened fire at a supermarket in Buffalo in New York, killing 10 black shoppers and workers in what officials have described as a hate crime. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
US President Joe Biden led the country's leaders in emotional appeal to ban the gun in America. He reminded his nation these kinds of mass shootings rarely happen anywhere else in the world. Here's the report.
President Joe Biden ordered flags to be flown at half-mast at the White House and all public buildings throughout the country and abroad as a mark of respect for the victims of the senseless acts of violence following an elementary school shooting in Texas.
The idea that an 18-year-old kid can walk into a gun store and buy 2 assault weapons is just wrong. What in God's name do you need an assault weapon for except to kill someone? Deer aren't running through the forest with Kevlar vests on, for God's sake. It's just sick. And the gun manufacturers have spent 2 decades aggressively marketing assault weapons, which make them the most and largest profit. For God's sake, we have to have the courage to stand up to the industry.
Vice President Kamala Harris, reacting to the mass shooting that killed 21 people in Texas, said the country must have the courage to take a stand against gun violence.
Enough is enough. As a nation, we have to have the courage to take action and understand the nexus between what makes for reasonable and sensible public policy to ensure something like this never happens again. So the President will speak more about this later. But for now, I will just say to the people of Uvalde, please know that this is a room full of leaders who grieve with you.
Pope Francis said he was heartbroken about the massacre in Texas. Speaking in the Vatican, the Pope condemned the shooting.
Ho il cuore affranto per la strage nella scuola elementare in Texas. Prego per I bambini, per gli adulti uccisi e per le loro famiglie. È tempo di dire basta al traffico indiscriminato delle armi. Impegniamoci tutti. Impegniamoci tutti perché tragedie così non possono più accadere.
The Pontiff also offered prayers for the victims and their families at St. Peter's Square. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
There were no less than 422 instances of gun violence in U.S. educational institutions in the year 2021-22. It resulted in 15,000 deaths in the United States in 2022. Not only over-the-counter guns, figures show an increasing use of ghost guns, weapons that are unregistered and untraceable that are being used to commit heinous crimes. Take a look at this fact-filled report.
Licensed gun makers in the United States manufactured 11.3 million firearms in 2020. A report released by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives says it marks an increase of 187% compared with the annual gun production 2 decades ago. Police recovered 19,344 ghost guns in criminal investigations in 2021. US police say ghost guns are commonly used by criminals as they can't be traced during criminal investigations and they bypass a background check needed to possess the gun. Ghost guns are homemade weapons made using 3D printers or assembled from kits. In the past 2 years, gun purchases in the United States reached a record high, triggered by a myriad of factors, including the COVID-19 epidemic, protests, and a noticeable rise in crime. The gun homicide rate in the country rose 35% in 2020, resulting in the highest firearm homicide rate in more than 25 years. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And some more news now from across the world. WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus was reappointed to a second 5-year term on Tuesday by the United Nations Health Agency's member countries. No other candidate challenged Tedros for the post amid the ongoing difficulties of responding to the devastating coronavirus pandemic. Tedros, a former government minister from Ethiopia, is the first African to lead the agency and the only Director General not qualified as a medical doctor. He is also the first WHO leader not to be supported by their home country, Ethiopia. South Korea said its Air Force conducted an elephant walk exercise amid concerns about North Korean missile launches. In footage released by the Defense Ministry, about 30 fully armed F-15K fighter jets paraded along a runway at an undisclosed location on Tuesday, information. South Korean officials said North Korea test-launched a suspected intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, and 2 shorter-range weapons into the sea that day. Japanese Defense Minister Nobuo Kishi described North Korea's missile launches, which followed the Japan, US, and Quad summit, as a clear provocation and absolutely impermissible. During a briefing in Tokyo, Kishi said so far the Japanese government has not received any reports of damage from ships or aircraft in the area. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson left the 10 Downing Street for the Prime Minister's questions in Parliament on Wednesday. The future of Johnson may hinge on the conclusions of senior civil servant Sue Gray's long-awaited report into the Partygate scandal. She investigated 16 gatherings attended by Johnson and his staff in 2020 and 2021, while people in the UK were barred from socialising under coronavirus restrictions imposed by Johnson's Conservative government. Johnson has apologised but insisted he didn't knowingly break the rules. NASA astronauts prepared Boeing's astronaut capsule for its return to Earth from the Intercontinental Space Station. With only a test dummy aboard, Boeing's astronaut capsule pulled up and parked at the International Space Station for the first time last week, a huge achievement for the company after years of false starts. Unlike SpaceX's Dragon capsule that splashes down off the Florida coast, Starliner will aim for a landing in New Mexico on Wednesday. Time now for all the sporting action. Starting with chess, young Grandmaster R. Pragnananda became the first Indian player to reach the final of the Chessable Masters tournament after he held his nerve to outwit Dutch GM Anish Giri 3.5, 2.5 today. The Indian chess star defeated the highly rated Giri, piping the Dutchman in the tie-break after the 4-game rapid online semi-final match ended in a 2-2 stalemate. In the final, Pragnananda will take on world number 2 Ding Liren of China, who shocked world number 1 Magnus Carlsen 2.5, 1.5 in other semi-final clash. In cricket, table toppers at the league stage Gujarat Titan will have made it to the finals of the IPL tournament, beating Rajasthan Royals by 7 wickets in qualifier 1 played at Kolkata's Eden Gardens. Jos Butler's 89 helped RR post a challenging 189-run target for Gujarat Titan. The Titans required 16 from the last over. David Miller hit 3 consecutive sixes of the first 3 balls to settle the score. Miller made 68 not out of 38 balls. Hardik Pandya remained not out on 40. IPL Season 15's eliminator match is being played at the Eden Gardens between the Lucknow Super Giants and the Royal Challengers Bangalore. These teams had ended 3rd and 4th respectively in the points table. The winner of this match, however, will have to win another in the qualifier to make it to the finals. The second qualifier will be played between the winner of today's match and Rajasthan Royals in Ahmedabad on May 27. In football now, Roman Abramovich, 19 years as Chelsea owner, is close to ending after the British government approved the sale of the Premier League club by the sanctioned Russian oligarch to a consortium fronted by Los Angeles Dodgers part owner Todd Boehly. The reigning FIFA Club World Cup winners and 2021 European champions will be sold for £2.5 billion, the highest price ever for a sports team. Abramovich was forced to sell Chelsea after Russia invaded Ukraine. Moving to tennis now, one of the favourites and 4th seed Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece had to dig deep and make a comeback from 2 sets to love down to reach the second round of the French Open. Italian Lorenzo Musetti had won the first 2 sets 7-5, 6-4 against Tsitsipas. The world number 4 then won the last 3 sets 6-2, 6-3, 6-2 to prevent an upset. Before we wrap, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Delhi's NIA court finds YASIN Malik guilty in terror funding case, sentences him to life imprisonment. Security forces put on alert in Jammu and Kashmir. Election Commission prepares for action against 2,100 political parties over various irregularities, including flouting norms on election expenditure. Government move to provide relief from inflation, restricts export of sugar to 10 million tons. In current year, duty-free import of 20 lakh metric tons of crude soybean and sunflower oil per year. Strong winds likely on North Gujarat coast. Weather department issues alert. Fishermen advised not to venture into the sea from 27th to 29th May. Flood situation improves in Assam. Indiscriminate shooting by teenager at school in Texas. 21, including many children, killed in firing. US President Biden expresses grief over attack. That's all we have in this bulletin. Keep watching Sansad TV. Till then, goodbye. Namaskar.